Welcome to Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. I am John Schmeelk, joined by Paul Dottino. Give us a call, folks. We have open lines and a whole lot to talk about at 201-939-4513. The Giants officially announced their coaching staff. We'll hit on that today. We can do some NFL Combine talk if you like as well. We could talk about that. That comes your way next week. Paul and I are on a plane next Monday.
Yes, we are.
And then we will be doing live shows from the Combine. And Pearson will be coming as well. They are letting him out of the cave. They've unshackled him from the radiator in the corner of the room, so he'll be able to make his way to Indianapolis with us to the Combine. We're going to be 12-1 in Indy, by the way, not 12:30 to 1:30. So just a heads up programming note next week. We'll be live on YouTube, live on the app, live on the website from 12 to 1 next week. So make sure you check that out. That'll be Tuesday through Friday. It'll be Malusis and Meadow, the double M boys, M&M boys, on Monday. From 12:30 to 1:30. So make sure you check out those shows next week. I already have some good guests booked. We usually do 3 or 4 guests every day. They're fun shows. We do Combine talk. We do draft talk. We do free agency talk. We just do around the league talk. I try to mix it up kind of like into thirds or quarters. So we get, I always make sure I get 1 draft gets each day, sometimes 2. But we'll get Giant beat reporters, free agent guys. We'll do a little bit of everything. I'm trying to get a couple of newer people on, and maybe a couple blasts from the past as well when we head out to the Combine next week. Paulie Dots, how was your weekend, my friend? First weekend without football.
Yeah, that's always rough. And then the NBA's new version of the All-Stars thing was not real great either.
I did not watch the game yet. I have it on the DVR, but I did watch I watched all the Saturday Night stuff, which was great. Knicks won the Shooting Stars Challenge.
Yeah, that was cool.
Dude, how good did Allen Houston's jump shot still look, by the way?
I know.
Super smooth. You can tell Reggie Miller's calling it. He's having like PTSD from Allen Houston killing him in the late 90s.
I kept thinking to myself, how many times, because Allen Houston is an official with the Knicks, and I believe he's the GM as part of his job of the Westchester team.
He was at some point. I'm not sure if he still is. He might be. He might be. You might be right. I don't remember what his next title is.
I've often thought to myself, how many times would he want to run out onto the court with the Westchester team and just start bombing threes?
Could you imagine if he played today, though, with the excess of 3-point attempts that people have, how many points he would score?
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I will say this. It was nice to get the legends involved in that first day of All-Star festivities. I wasn't a big fan of the whole USA World round robin thing that they did on Sunday.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't watched it yet, so I'll have to wait.
It's not great.
See what it looks like.
It's not great. But anyway.
Pearson, your thoughts on that? On the All-Star game itself. Did you watch it?
I had it on the second TV. But it looked more competitive.
Was Game of Thrones on the first TV?
Yes, it was.
I watched that last night, by the way.
Very good episode.
Very good episode. The ending was quite the quite the interesting ending.
I don't know. I didn't watch a ton of I watched some of the slam dunk contest. It's fine.
The Spurs guy was very good.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I thought he should have won, honestly.
Well, he missed the last dunk.
I know.
That's a no-no.
Yeah.
Can't miss.
Can't miss.
And then he tried the really hard one extra time at the end, instead of just doing like a moderately hard one, which is all he needed to do to get it done. And
it's all about just making your first dunk, I feel like. Because once you miss one, everyone's just like, okay, we've seen it.
No, you're right. No, you're right. And Dwight Howard, by the way, on his point totals was all over the place. I don't know what I'm not surprised given who Dwight Howard is, but he was all over the place with his grading on that slam dunk contest. I didn't understand that at all. Anyway, as we get back to reality. Giants announced their coaching staff.
Yes.
After the show on Friday, late that afternoon or early evening. So I'll run through it. I mean, a lot of these names should sound familiar. We've talked about a lot of these gentlemen over the past couple weeks as these names have been reported, even though they weren't official. So Chris Horton will be the special teams coordinator and assistant head coach. Matt Nagy's your offensive coordinator. Denard Wilson's your defensive coordinator. Charlie Bullen's your run game coordinator on defense and your outside linebacker coach. Frank Bush is your inside linebacker coach. Brendan Clark is the defensive quality control. Donald DeLessio, he came over from Baltimore. So did Clark, by the way, and so did Bush. No, wait, was Bush from Baltimore?
Bush was Tennessee.
He was Tennessee. Thank you. DeLessio, defensive pass coordinator / secondary coach. Dennis Johnson, he's gone from former Celtics point guard to defensive line coach. Good for him. And then, no, he's not. He is the defensive line coach. It is not the same guy as the former Celtics point guard. Not. And then Addison Lynch, the defensive backs coach. Matt Pease, son of Dean Pease, former longtime defensive coordinator, is the assistant linebackers coach. He did come over from Baltimore. And then Megan Roseberg is the assistant to the head coach / defensive assistant. Then on the offensive side of the ball, these are just alphabetical, so just keep that in mind. Mike Bloomgren, offensive line coach. Brian Callahan, not Bill Callahan, the former offensive line guru. Brian Callahan, the former head coach of the Titans, will be the pass game coordinator and the quarterbacks coach, correct. Chad Hall will be the wide receivers coach. Tim Kelly will be the tight ends coach. He obviously stays on. Grant Newsom will be the assistant offensive line coach. He comes up from Michigan. Noah Riley will be a quality control football analyst. Greg Roman will be a senior offensive assistant. The thought seemed to be that he's going to have a heavy influence on the run game, given his success in that area. Adam Schrack will be offensive quality control with Mike Snyder. Willie Taggart, former Florida State Seminole head coach. He comes over from Baltimore with John Harbaugh. Apparently, he was like the best man at his wedding, by the way. Willie
they're
Taggart.
tight.
So they're like super
very
tight. TJ Weist will be the assistant special teams coach. Then you have the strength and conditioning and training staff. I won't go through all those names, but they brought in somebody to assist both in the medical department and in the strength and conditioning side of things that John Harbaugh had experience with from Baltimore.
Yeah, of the core coaches, and I'm not talking about the quality control guys and then all those strength and conditioning guys, the core coaches, he's got a half a dozen folks that he took from the Ravens that he is bringing over here.
Ironically, aside from a couple like Horton and Taggart, a lot of the guys had only been with him in Baltimore for 1 or 2 years.
He had some turnover.
Exactly right.
I mean, he had such a good record there that he was getting pilfered.
Well, yeah, and then when a defensive coordinator might leave, they'll take some of the lower assistants with them and give them promotion.
Exactly. Now, we did see, I believe it was Matt Robinson, the assistant defensive line coach, was named and then took another job. I believe it was the Cardinals, was it not?
I don't remember the name.
I believe he went to the Cardinals. Pearson, maybe you could check on that for us. Yeah, Matt Robinson, assistant defensive line coach. He had been imported from the Ravens, but I believe he wound up taking a job with Arizona. But we'll have Pearson check on that for us. Otherwise, it would have been another one.
Matt Robinson?
Yes.
It says Raiders name him
Raiders.
Safeties coach.
Okay, Raiders. I knew it was a team out there in the West. Anyway, he's gone. So perhaps he'll be looking for another assistant defensive line coach, or maybe he'll just go with what he's got. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, so we'll see. Look, we talked to a lot of these guys, a lot of experience, especially on the offensive side of the ball, in terms of at the coordinator, whether it's the offensive coordinator, pass game coordinator, that area. There's a lot of experience there. We'll see about the offensive line coach, Mike Bloomgren. Obviously comes over from Cleveland, where they were dealing with a lot of injuries and age last year, so I don't know how much you could kind of judge off of that. So we'll see how the coaching staff does, Paul. And look, I think it's a mix of young guys and older guys, experienced guys that were with Harbaugh in Baltimore, some guys that weren't. It's really in some younger guys, some guys that came from college, some guys that have been former head coaches, some guys that got promotions. So it really is a mix of different guys with different histories and different past responsibilities with the way they put this thing together.
I thought it was a little interesting, John, when you mentioned the experience factor. Yes, a number of guys who have been in the league for a while, and certainly some who have a longer connection to Harbaugh than just recent times with Baltimore. But of the core coaches, Grant Newsom, the assistant offensive line coach, comes from the University of Michigan. He is the only one that I saw of the core coaches who's actually coming directly from the NCAA ranks.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And I think that's interesting because you'll recall, going back even a couple of coaches ago, when Joe Judge was here, and he had hired a bunch of guys on his core staff who were making the jump. They may have been NFL coaches at one point in their careers, but there were a bunch of guys who had extensive NCAA backgrounds.
I mean, Bloomgren does as well.
Yes, he does.
Was in college
Stanford and Rice
from 2011 to 2024.
Yeah.
At Stanford and Rice. And
head coach at Rice.
Correct.
Offensive line coach at Stanford.
And then he wound up in Cleveland as the offensive line coach last year. So he's probably the next core guy that I would consider primarily collegiate, though again, he did coach in the NFL last year.
Now, when he was at Stanford, he sent 12 of his offensive linemen to the National Football League. When he was at Rice, he sent 3 of his offensive linemen to the National Football League. The most prominent names that you would recognize, David DeCastro, multiple-time Pro Bowler with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You would recognize Cam Fleming with the Giants at one point, obviously, mostly with the Patriots. Also, I believe, with Denver the last few years. You would recognize Andrus Peat, who was with the Saints for a while. Mm-hmm. Those are some of the recognizable guys that you would know. I did a big deep dive on him because, as we know, offensive line coach to me was going to be the next important one after the two coordinators, and I guess the special teams coordinator to some degree. So I did a lot of research on Bloomgren, and he has certainly had an alumni list. Not all those guys, he had, I want to say it was 3 first-round draft picks along the offensive line, a couple of second-round draft picks along the offensive line. So he has certainly done well in producing young offensive linemen for the league. So that gives you a little background on him.
No question about it. And obviously, the Combine coming up next week. The full invite list is out there, obviously. We can go about free agency, too, by the way. That comes your way just a couple weeks after we get back from the Combine. It comes fast and furious now, man. Now between next week and the draft, you can have a little bit of a, relaxing time, like the first 2 weeks of April, maybe a little bit when there's not a ton going on. I mean, I'll have a ton going on because I'm just trying to get as many players graded as possible. Yeah. But this is the NFL schedule, man. And then the Giant players report at the beginning of April. They have their, and this thing is not going to slow down now until June.
Well, I haven't seen any headlines this morning, but today is Taggy Day, and I don't think the Giants are in position to tag anybody, quite frankly.
No, I don't think the Giants. So I think we all expect the Cowboys will tag George Pickens.
And beyond that, I'm not sure.
I don't know either.
But today, at some point this afternoon, you may get a headline. I expect that Pickens is going to be a headline at some point. It may not be today.
Could the Ravens tag Linderbaum?
Potentially. Transition, maybe?
It's a big number, though.
It is a big number. That's what I'm saying. Transition instead of franchise?
Yeah, it's still a big number.
I know. So, but keep your eyes and your ears peeled because it is Taggy Day. This is the first day that teams can put out those tags.
They have 3 weeks, so a lot of times teams will wait till the end of the period to do it. So,
but we'll see.
Dolphins made some cuts, huh?
Oh, Bradley Chubb, right? He got let go.
And Hill.
And Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure Tyreek Hill's going to play again.
Coming off a heavy-duty injury situation.
That was a bad injury.
It was not good. Not good. Chubb, what's interesting about Chubb was that the last 2 years he's had a combined, I think, almost 20 sacks. He's still a good player.
He's not the player he used to be, though.
Not necessarily, the Pro Bowl kind of player that he was, but he has had 2 solid seasons in the last 2 years. And I'm guessing, I don't know what his number was. Obviously, it's a salary cap cut. This is what happens with free agency and salary caps, right?
Remember, the rumors are that they were looking to trade him at the deadline, and they decided not to. So I wonder what type of offers they got for him. You know what I mean?
Very good point, Jod. Again, I'm sure his contract has a lot to do with it. But his last 2 seasons, I'm pretty sure that he played because he had the injury year in there too.
Yeah, so it's not the last 2 years. Well, he did not play in 2024. So in 2023, he had 11 sacks, and last year he had 8.5.
Well, like I said, that's almost 20 in his
last 2 seasons. 2022, he had 8. 2021, he only played 7 games.
He's still a quality player. Now, he's a defensive end, though. He is not an edge rusher. He is a defensive end.
Yeah. He's a bigger body guy.
Quite frankly, he's one of those guys that I prefer. I like those guys more so. If I could play a 4-3, I'd get that guy with his hand in the dirt.
Okay, at Ryan Roon, does the franchise tag count against the cap? We are going to get to your call, Scott. I see online. We'll get to you in just a second, but this was pertinent to what we were talking about here. Does the tag count against the salary cap? Yes, it does.
Sure does.
You have to, even if it's not signed yet, if you have it offered to somebody, that takes up the cap space, which is why, the players don't like the tag, and I understand why. I don't think teams like using the tag either, because you can't play with that money.
I believe the term is escrow, right? The money goes in escrow.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
I believe that's the financial term because...
For those that own a house, you know what escrow is.
Yeah, and for those who don't, the tag money that you have committed to the tag has to be pushed off to the side. It counts on your cap number, and it gets pushed off to the side, and you can't use it, and it's just sitting there collecting dust until the player signs the tag.
Yeah, no question about it. So...
or you pull it back, or you pull the tag back, which was
correct.
The case with Olivier Vernon when the Giants signed him to a free agent contract.
But you do have to have the appropriate amount of money under the salary cap in order to tag players. So that's what that is. I can give you... So franchise tag numbers, I'll just give you the numbers very quickly.
Yes, sir.
For the positions, then we'll get to Scott on the line here. Quarterback is at $47 million.
Lovely number.
Oh, man, that is a big number.
Yeah.
By the way, and the franchise and transition tags are calculated by adding the respective tag numbers divided by the sum of the salary caps from the previous 5 seasons and multiplied by the current season salary cap. So that's how you figure out what those cap numbers are, okay? Wide receiver is at $28 million, transitions at $25. Linebacker, $28 million, transition at $23. Now remember, that's why inside linebackers never get tagged.
Right.
Because they're in the same category as, like, Micah Parsons and Jordan Brooks are in the same category. They shouldn't be, but they are.
That's the problem with the offensive line, too.
Offensive line, franchise tag $27 million, transition tag $25 million. Defensive end, franchise tag $27 million, transition tag $22 million. Defensive tackle, franchise tag $26 million, transition tag $21 million, which, by the way, if you're a player and you're getting a guaranteed check for $27 million, that's not exactly a bad deal either, by the way. Just talk to Kirk Cousins how he used the franchise tag to his advantage to maximize his
Tell
earnings.
me about it.
Cornerback, franchise tag 21, transition 17. Safety, franchise 20, transition 16. Tight end, franchise 16, transition 13. Running back, franchise 14, transition 11. Special teams, kickers is 6.9 and 6.2. So that's what you're looking at in terms of the transition and franchise tags for this year. At least that's what's on over the cap.
Didn't Darrell Revis do the same thing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was the same
Darrell
thing.
Revis did the same thing.
He kept doing
correct.
1 year, 1 year, and he was cleaning up. Yeah. So, I mean, look, again, I don't know how many. I didn't see anything this morning on any of the national wires about guys who were expected to be. I know there's been a lot of talk over the last 2 weeks that the Cowboys would do it to Pickens. But basically to use the tag, as many teams do, they use the tag as a negotiating ploy.
Of course.
Just to extend their opportunity to talk to the guy about a long-term deal. Most teams, when they tag a guy, they're not doing it because they want to tag him and get him at the tagged price. They do it simply because they want to extend the negotiating period so that they don't lose the guy right away to free agency.
Right.
That's all. They're just trying to keep him from talking to other people.
Yes, correct. So basically, the cap percentage average is calculated by taking. So basically, how this works, I'm trying to find the exact language here. So I explain it to people properly in terms of how it's calculated. I'll get to that in a second. But let's get to the calls in the meantime. 201-939-4513. Let's go to Scott in Oregon. He will lead us off today. Scott, what's going on?
Hi, thanks for taking my call. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Okay, so I want to talk about free agency, your general philosophy, approach to free agency, whether you would favor internal free agents or external free agents. If anybody's ever done any study on the effectiveness of internal versus external free agents, like bang for buck, the productivity of the player per unit dollar that you have to pay them. If anybody's ever studied that, and I want to hear your thoughts, but before I get to your thoughts, I just want to give my own guess first, and then I'll get off the line if that's okay.
Go ahead.
So I think that it seems like if you're a general manager and you're talking to your internal free agent options, that you're probably going to want to negotiate them down, and you're going to probably want to say, you're not that great. You have all these areas of improvement. Here's reasons why we're not going to pay that much for you. So you're saying things that's going to hurt their confidence in a way. Whereas if you're talking to external free agents, it seems to me like you're going to want to say to an external free agency, you're going to say, oh, you'd be great for our scheme. You'd be a great fit. You would do so well in our scheme. You'd be blah, blah, blah. You'd want to boost their confidence. And so because of that, the way that the GM would negotiate, it seems to me like you'd be better off with the external free agents. And I'll take my answer off the air.
Well, the problem is, though, you don't know about the external free agents the way you know about your ones in-house.
No.
So, and that's the problem you run into here, where I think the best way to build a team, and I don't know if a study's been done on this, whether, the effectiveness of re-signing your own players versus players from the outside, but the players you know the most about are the ones that are on your roster. So the Giants have intimate knowledge of 4 years of hands-on experience. So this coaching staff wasn't here. The front office was. What type of player in person Wandale Robinson is? What type of player in person Micah McFadden is? What type of player in person Cordell Flott is? The last 2 years. What player in person Jermaine Illuminor is, right? Greg Van Roten, too. They know what these guys are. And I think it would give me, if I was part of a front office, an added level of comfort knowing that I know exactly what I'm bringing back with these guys, how they would fit in my system, how I want to use them, what they're good at, what they're not, can they be coached, all that other stuff. If you're bringing somebody in from the outside, yeah, you can do all the research you want. You can look at all that and figure out all the details of it. But the problem you run into is you're never going to know what the guy is like in your building because he's never been in your building. And it becomes a little bit dicier. It becomes a little bit more risky in terms of who you bring in from the outside. So my strategy is draft well, re-sign your own players, and then supplement that with free agents on the outside. That's how I would look at it. Try to extend your guys as early as you can if it makes sense. Some guys, if they have injuries or injury histories and you don't want to extend them way in advance, I get that too. But ideally, you want to draft well, extend guys early before the cap and the numbers at those positions explode. Then you can also spread that signing bonus and you can spread that salary over more years. And you manage your cap, to me, the best way by doing it that way.
Yeah, I don't think anybody, when they do their planning, remember the salary cap guys for each franchise plan out 3 years in advance on what they think the cap is going to be. They try to make the best estimates that they can, and then they look at their situation contractually with all their different players and try to figure out and manipulate the numbers as best as possible and figure what they might be able to give guys who the coaches want to hold on to. So John is absolutely right. The goal is not to have somebody play on a franchise tag. That's never the goal. That's not what you want to do. It's just sometimes not only a mechanism to keep a negotiation alive, sometimes you have no choice, but you've got to have the guy play on the franchise tag. Judy Batista of NFL Media an hour ago posted the likely tags. So we now have a list.
All right, what do you got?
George Pickens, obviously the receiver from the Cowboys. Daniel Jones, Colts quarterback. She's got him as a potential.
That would be shocked by that.
Well, okay.
Wouldn't you?
Well,
For a guy coming off an Achilles injury, $47 million?
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening, but okay.
That's a lot of money.
It's possible, but I would be surprised.
She's got Kenneth Walker, the running back from the Seahawks, as a potential.
We'll see.
She also throws out there Adafe Owe, the linebacker, pass rusher from the Chargers.
That's surprising.
Okay. And then Troy Hendrickson, the defensive end from the Bengals, who's going to be really ticked off if somebody does that.
If they franchise him again, that's going to get very, very ugly.
Oh, yes, it will.
That's going to get very, very ugly.
Yes, it will.
Very quickly.
She adds Kyle Pitts, the tight end of the Atlanta Falcons, as a potential.
That wouldn't surprise me. Okay.
Breece Hall, running back for the Jets.
That would surprise me.
I don't think so. I don't think that's going to happen.
But it's possible. And look, basically, you're just listing the best unrestricted free agents.
And that's it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 people she has as potential taggy days.
That's about what you're at. 7 or 8, right? 7 to 10 every any given year.
Yeah, and usually only
5 to 10.
I was going to say 1 or 2 of them wind up playing on the tag because most of those guys will wind up doing a deal.
Exactly. And I was right, by the way. So the number for each position is, for the franchise tag, is the top 5 players, the average of that at that position, and for the transition, it's the top 10, which is why that's a little bit lower.
Right.
So that's how you reach those numbers in terms of what those franchise tags for the individual positions happen to be. All right, let's go to Gary in Virginia. He's up next. What's up, Gary?
How you doing?
Hi.
Yeah, I have a statement and then an idea. I know, John, you had mentioned if we have ideas for a show.
Please.
But the main person I'd like to keep for a free agency is Illuminor. You know, I thought the offensive line finally looked good, and I think he'd be vital to keep. And now, you know, if even if Bo is the projected right tackle, he plays guard too. So I think he'd be the key piece to keep.
No, look, I get that, Gary. Given what the offensive line saga has been here, over the past 12, 13 years. To get to a point where you're happy with the performance and then potentially lose one or two of your top guys from your 5-man unit, I understand your hesitancy to do that. I don't know what the cost is going to be. I don't know what they think of Marcus Bowe internally. Remember, this coaching staff has never coached Marcus Bowe before. Carmen Brasil is not back. So we don't know what Mike Bloomgren and John Harbaugh thinks, and Matt Nagy and the rest of that offensive staff thinks of Marcus Bowe. I don't know the answer to that. So we'll have to wait and see. In terms of importance of the position, I understand why you would pick a Luminor from that group.
SpotRack, which is one of the internet sites that specializes in the economics of the NFL, they're calculating a market value for Luminor at 2 years, $17.3 million. I think that's low.
Per year or total?
Total.
No, there's no way.
That's low.
No way.
I don't see it. I don't see any way you get him back for that.
If you get him back for that, you sign him today.
You do it yesterday.
Yeah, I think Illuminor is going to be looking for like 2 years, 35.
I was going to say I think he's going to be looking for 15, 16 minimum a year. Mm-hmm. They're saying 2 years for 17.3. I don't see that.
Wouldn't that be a pay cut?
I don't see it.
What did he take? What was it? 2 years,
what did he get
12
last year?
last
What
year?
did he get last year?
Let's
see what he got last year.
Anyway, Gary, what else do you got?
Current contract, he made $7 million this year.
I did this with a buddy of mine. We did a fantasy draft for just Giants players. So we did from 2000, from their 2007 Super Bowl on. So we went back and forth and picked and made our own squad, our own teams with, you could pick anybody from 07 to today, and you make your own team. I thought it might be a fun idea.
Yeah, actually,
Paul loves that.
Yeah,
idea.
well, Paul loves fantasy drafts and fantasy football. He's all about it. What I considered doing, just because it's like the quarter century mark, right? You could do the last 25 years, so we could maybe put together the Giants' top team of the last 25 years. Because technically, the year 2000 is not part of the century, just for the record. Mm-hmm. So last year was actually the 25th season of the century. So maybe that's something we can do when we get to the slow times in June.
Okay,
we can put together. I know you would like doing that. Put together the Giants' all quarter century team.
Yeah, because we would be basing it on what they did as opposed to fantasy projections.
Correct.
And that's definitely up my alley.
Now the question is Pearson, should we do head to head? And each of us come up with the team and see who's better? Yeah. Or should we just try to do it together?
I think it should be head-to-head.
Okay. We can have fun with that.
Any way you want to pluck it, that's fine with me. Anyway, that's not a bad idea. There's a lot of good players over those 25 years, I'll tell you that.
What else you got, Gary?
That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We have some open lines, folks. 201-939-4513. 201-939-4513. A couple more YouTube comments. Let's get to them at football dash a bunch of letters and numbers. We need to draft linebacker, safety, and cornerback. I don't think you need to draft a safety. I think it would help to draft a cornerback. We'll see what happens in free agency, and that could change.
Yeah.
And look, I think it would help to draft the linebacker too. You have Musau. I don't think he put the clamps on a starting job last year.
No.
Micah McFadden coming off an injury, free agent. Bobby Okereke heading into the last year of his contract. So that is a position where you could see a lot of turnover here moving forward. So, yeah, I mean, would I be surprised if the Giants took a linebacker high in this draft and it's a pretty good linebacker draft? No, that would not surprise me.
Not at all. I'm with you on that, John.
Would you be willing to do Sonny Styles at 5?
Oh, that's a guy you'd have to at least talk about. He'd have to be somewhat in the conversation because you just don't know. But Bobby Okereke's on the books for $9 million this year, and there are those people who seem to want to make him a cap cut. I think he showed me enough in the final month of last season that I would rather keep him around.
Well, here's the thing: if you want to do that, how much of that money is going to be going to replace him?
Right.
So the question you have to ask yourself, and again, this isn't necessarily reference to Bobby, but to anybody that you're considering making a cap casualty. I don't want to, focus on the one player, but is the money you're saving with that player more or less than the cost it would take to replace that player with someone better? Mm-hmm. Right. That's the question. All right. So if you cut a player and you get $9 million, but to get a better player, it's going to cost you 14. What are we doing here?
No. And
it doesn't make any sense.
Is you got to remember, you don't have a third-round draft choice either.
Correct.
So in terms of your value draft choices, your red chippers, if you will, your day twos, you've already given up one of those in the Jackson Dart deal. Right. So do you really want to create another hole? I'm not a big fan of it. I thought Bobby Okereke showed me enough that I would keep him. But that's simply me. I want to go back to Illuminor.
Okay, by the way, and just real quick,
yeah,
it's going to be a completely different system, though, too. So
could be.
I mean, what we don't know is how John Harbaugh and this coaching staff on both sides of the ball, how they evaluate the players already on the roster. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they've already had a lot of those conversations, or they're having them now with the front office as we head to the combine. But we don't know what they think of Bobby Okereke. We don't know what they think of Mike. We don't know what they think of any of the guys on the roster, to be honest with you. So that could very much guide what that looks like moving forward.
Want to go back to the Illuminor item, and just to give you guys an idea of why John and I think he will get more money than the web projection. When you look at the free agent right tackles available, based on last year's snap count, Illuminor played 95% of the snaps for the Giants. And let's not forget, his durability is also a very good quality to have. Of the right tackles last year who played more than 2/3 of their team snaps, Braden Smith from the Colts at 72%, made $8 million in his last year of his contract last year. Jermaine Illuminor is there at $7 million.
I believe Braden Smith, was that a rookie contract? I don't think so, right? What was that, do you think?
No, it was not a rookie contract because he's 30 years old.
Is he 30, Braden Smith,
he's already 30. He's already 30.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
So
take that back.
And then...
God, I'm old. All right.
Yeah, well.
Sorry.
Larry Borum from the Dolphins played 68% of the snaps. Now, he's only 27, and he only made $2.5 million. And then you'd have to go, let's see, oh my. You know what, John? There's only one other player who played at least 60% of his team's snaps at right tackle. And that's Dylan Raduns. Remember him, the FCS guy from the Saints? He played 62% of their snaps last year for the Saints, and he's at $2.25 million in the final year of his deal last season.
And that was only because of injury.
Correct.
He was a backup.
So I guess what we're trying to tell you, and, you know, you're looking for a big name? Yeah, Jack Conklin, but he is 32 years old, and he's been beaten up, and he only played 35% of the snaps
starting
last year.
Offensive tackles make bank.
That's our point. Yeah. They cash. They cash well. You know why? Because they don't often come free.
Well, because there just are not that many guys that are 6'5", 325 pounds that can move well enough to block the best athletes on the planet, which are all the edge rushers and defensive ends in the sport.
I mean, look, the two most highly paid of these free agents from this past season were Jonah Williams of the Cardinals. He was hurt, only played 52% of the snaps and made $15 million last year. And Rob Havenstein.
Yeah, I think I could easily argue Illuminor is a better player right now than Jonah Williams.
Absolutely. I would. Yeah. Today.
Mm-hmm. Especially with that when you put health into it, where Williams has been in and out a lot.
And the Rams, 41% for Havenstein, and he's 34 years old, and he made 11.5.
Correct, and he's 34.
You're going to tell me you wouldn't rather have Illuminor over him? I would. Right now, today, Jermaine Illuminor is only, 27? No, he's 32. He is 32, but he doesn't have a lot of mileage on his tires.
No, he doesn't.
Anyway, the point is, that class...
Yeah, Conklin's an old 32.
Oh, yes.
Correct.
Very old 32.
Mm-hmm.
I loved him when he came out of school. I wanted him here, but not now. Folks, the law of supply and demand is going to inflate the numbers at this position. Let's not kid ourselves. That's what it does. I don't see how they...
Hey.
Look, I'd love the Giants to keep him. I don't know how they're going to be able to do it.
Let's go to Marcus in California. He's up next. Hey, Marcus.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
We're great.
All right. So first question is, Don, I heard you repeat something Joe Shane said about cap flexibility this year. How are we supposed to get that?
You mean in terms of creating more cap space?
1.8.
In terms of creating more cap space you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, look, if you want to create more cap space, and this goes for pretty much every NFL team, except for a team like the Eagles, by the way, because of how they structure their contracts, it's very difficult for them to actually renegotiate their contracts.
Yes.
But for teams that, 95% of the league that have more typical contract structures, you basically, I'll bring up an example. Let me just bring up one player. And again, these are not official numbers. The Giants do not, release their official numbers in terms of what guys make. But just for our purposes, let's bring up Brian Burns, okay? So I think the Giants are very happy with Brian Burns. They gave him a big contract, and that's a guy who's only 28.
Right.
If you have to push money back on his contract, you would probably feel okay about it, right?
Yeah.
So this upcoming year, just to give you an example, in 2026, Brian Burns, Marcus, has a base salary of $24.5 million, okay? He has 2 more years left in his contract. So what you can do, you can take that base salary, and you do not need the player's permission to do this. You can just do it because it benefits the player. And you can convert, let's say of that $24 million, you take $20 million of it, right? And you want to convert that to a signing bonus.
No, you do have to ask the player. The players will always say yes.
No, a lot of the contracts now, it's not even
some
in
of the
there.
new ones?
Yeah.
All right.
That's correct.
That I'm unfamiliar with. But
So,
in the past, you always asked them, and they always said yes.
well, yeah, because you get the money up front.
Exactly.
Correct.
Why wouldn't you?
So basically what you do, you take $20 million of the $24 million base salary, and you turn that into a signing bonus marker. So what that'll do, his base salary goes to just $4 million, and that $20 million will then get spread over the remaining years of his contract. So in this case, it will get spread over 3 years, and it would turn into, that would be $8 million. No, 20. That would be $6.7 million each year, right? To get to around $20 million, give or take. So then you basically take his cap number, which was at 24.5. He had the prorated signing bonuses. Cap number was at $36 million, and you have now taken that cap number down to $24 million, and you save $12 million on your salary cap. Another way you could do that, if you want to be more aggressive, you could add a couple of void years to the contract, and then you would take that $20 million signing bonus and spread it over 4 years, which means only $5 million of that money will go on this year's cap, and you would cut his cap number down even more. So that's basically what you do. You take the base salary, you're turning into signing bonus, you spread that signing bonus over the remaining years of the contract, and that will reduce your cap number for that individual year. So for Brian Burns, you could probably get his cap number down to probably close to like $12 million if you wanted to. So you could theoretically get his cap, probably closer to 15. So you could probably get his cap number around 15 million, 16 million, and you would almost save $20 million of cap money off of this year for him if you wanted to be super aggressive with it in terms of how you did it. And again, it depends on the player. The older they are, the less likely you'd want to do this to push money down the road. The more injury prone they are, the less likely you'd want to do this and push the money down the road. And the other drawback, if eventually you want to cut this player before his contract is up, all that money then accelerates into 1 year. And you're going to have a huge dead money hit on your cap the year you cut that player. So that's how you do it. The benefits are you create more cap space in the short term, but the drawback is you have more dead money in the long term.
You will always have to pay the piper. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, the money gets paid. It's just a matter of what year. And you know what? It's not even a matter of when the player gets paid, because the player is going to get paid. It's where that money gets assigned on your salary cap books.
It's paper. It's paper. It's the accounting. It's where is it on the books? Now there is, and I don't know what the equation is, John, and maybe it's changed also over the years. There is a limit to what percentage of the guy's money you can convert to a signing bonus. And basically, it's a calculation. I believe it's not only a percentage, but it's also based on how many extra years you might want to add to his voidable years. But it's very complicated, and this is why they have people who are called cap gurus in NFL franchises, because it gets really sticky.
And for the Giants, that would be Donna Ponte, who they just brought in to replace Kevin Abrams.
And she's coming from the league, so trust me, she knows how to do it.
Yeah. But do you think it would be better to just try to extend Thomas Burns and Dexter long time to reduce the cap hit? Because I know the Giants, we don't use void years like ever. I don't remember the last person we used a void year on. But my other question was, it seems like John Harbaugh, because I watched his interview with Mike Francesca, that he's in love with Caleb Downs, right? But do you think it would just be better to try to keep Illuminor and then draft one of the 3 top wide receivers with the least injury history? Because I don't like that we keep bringing people in with injury histories and then they're injured, surprise, to kind of help, like, extend those 3, say, Dexter, you want to be here for your career, we'll extend you till you're 32, but we're not going to pay you $40 million a year when you're 30, right? Like, we'll bump it up now, and you'll be more team-friendly deals for him, Thomas. And I would even go so far as to say, hey, Jameis, do you want to be here for 6 years, with Jackson Dart? You're getting $8 million a year, I think. Like, let's extend it long term and make it an average of like $5 million a year.
Well, no, Winston's only getting 4 a year.
Money.
Winston's only getting 4 a year, so you can't do it with him because he's already so low as it is. You're not going to gain much by doing that. And as far as
definitely extend him longer.
As far as the three guys though that you mentioned, and this is why he picked out Burns. Burns is durable. Thomas has injury history. I'm sorry, but he does. Dexter Lawrence now has injury history too.
And he's also coming off a not a great year.
That has to be part of your equation.
I think he was hurt.
Okay, but the point is...
By the way, just for the record on this, everyone keeps using that as his excuse. Dexter said he wasn't hurt. The Giants said he weren't hurt.
Right.
So I don't know where that keeps coming from because everyone keeps saying that's not the case.
I think there's a difference between hurt and injured, as we talk about in football a lot. And the guy he can practice. He doesn't have to be on the injury report, but he also doesn't have to be 100%. It's my opinion that Dexter Lawrence was not 100% this past season. That's my opinion. But I can't.
Well, he certainly didn't play that way.
He certainly didn't. But the point is, 2 of the 3 guys who would be prime candidates for what John talked about have injury history. You now have to take that risk into account if you're going to start pushing money back.
Well, and remember, he wants to extend them. He doesn't want to push the money back, so he wants to do it a little bit differently. Which I bark is, I think it's a good question, but I think the question you have to ask yourself then is that, are you willing to now pay these 2 players at the top of the market? Like you said, well, that way you're not paying Dexter all this money. Well, Dexter's not going to sign a contract extension unless he's getting money at the top of the market.
Right.
And Andrew Thomas, he was a lot more reasonable the first time around to get his contract done. So, he might be able to, do something a little bit better there. But, you also then have to give a new signing bonus out. That's a lot of cash spending, which you can do. It's fine. But your assumption is by extending them now, you're going to get some type of bargain. I don't know if that's necessarily the case with what these guys would want in terms of their money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I'm not a GM.
And that's why we aren't either, by the way.
Exactly. I want no part of that job. Zero.
Yeah. Okay, so just to follow up to that, and I have one more quick question. I'm sorry.
Yes.
So I think that with Andrew Thomas's injury history and us liking Marcus Bo but not knowing, that I think we have to get Illuminor back and unfortunately let Wandell walk and then draft a wide receiver. Either that Brazen kid if he's there in the second round, but I would like Tate, but I would take any one of the top 3 that doesn't have an injury history, and that way we have insurance policy. If Andrew Thomas gets hurt, we don't mess with his contract, then we kind of saved ourselves. That's just my opinion. My last question, and I know this is going to be, ruffle feathers, but I think that we should pick up Deonte Banks' 5th-year option. Just because if they could get the best out of this kid, he's going to hit the open market, we're done. We're not going to get him. But if he's just average and he's a backup and he's still a great returner, I think it helps our special teams for the next 2 years, and we don't have to go out and spend $20 million on a second, a 2B, cornerback. I think we should pick up his 2nd-year off or his 5th-year option, and I believe that Harbaugh and this coaching staff can get the absolute best out of this kid, because I told Paulie, kid's got all the talent in the world, man. Someone just got to unlock it.
All right, appreciate the call, Marcus. $12 million's a lot for a 5th-year option.
And that's the problem.
And that's what the projection is based on over the cap.
Look, I agree with the caller in that I still think that Tay Banks has all the talent necessary to be a really good frontline player in this league. I know it hasn't been visible on tape the last 2 seasons. I am hoping that this is the last hurrah. He has a fresh start, fresh staff. How many more chances can you give him? He and Jalen Hyatt are in the same boat. Both of these guys. We have talked about this and exhausted all of our oxygen waiting for these guys to try to turn the corner. And the only thing about him, as opposed to Hyatt, at least as a rookie, he showed a lot more flashes than Hyatt has shown. But the truth remains, you can't have a lot of confidence. Do you hope still? Yeah, but what do they always tell you? Hope is not a great plan. So, are you going to invest $12 million in hope? John, I don't know that I would do that. I'm a Tay Banks guy. I can't see doing that.
Yeah, he would have to have a really good year to have that make sense.
And is he capable? I do think he's still capable.
We both loved him coming out.
But I don't know that I can roll the dice.
Yeah, I think that's probably more risk that you have to bring on than is necessary.
I concur.
And in terms of the extensions, look, again, it all depends on, what you're able to get that number at to have it make sense for you. All three of those players, I'm going to double check them. Burns has 2 years left on his deal. I believe Andrew Thomas and Dexter Lawrence also both have 2 years left on their deal, right? Actually, I'm sorry. Andrew signed all the way through 2029. So you have him signed for another 4 seasons, including this one. Brian Burns is 3 seasons, including this one. And Dexter Lawrence is, I believe, let's see. And Dexter Lawrence is 2 years, including this one. So usually you're not going to extend the guy before there's 2 years left on the deal.
Right.
It's because a lot can change in that 2 years.
Absolutely.
In terms of injuries and stuff like that.
Sure.
So you don't want to extend too early.
Coaches and schemes, too.
That, too. Though I think Dexter Lawrence would probably be good in pretty much any scheme you want to put him in. Just because of
Yeah,
who he is and how
so.
he plays. But, generally speaking, that's, again, maybe I don't know how this giant front office is going to approach it with, John Harbaugh now here joining Joe Shane and Donna Ponte in that group. But generally speaking around the league, you'll see extensions starting with about 2 years left on the contract. So, in fact, there might be a rule that you're not allowed to extend further back
I
than
don't know
that.
the answer to that.
I need to look that up. But that's usually when the extension window opens. And that would be the situation for Dexter right now. Andrew's got 4 years left. I don't think you can put an extension on that with
I doubt
4 years left.
I doubt it, but I don't know if there's a rule against it.
I'm going to look that up when we get to our next call here, 201-939-4513, 201-939-4513. Looking for more than just a ticket, Elevate Experiences delivers VIP access to the world's biggest events, from the Super Bowl to NASCAR to PGA Tour tournaments. Don't just attend, elevate the experience at elevateexperiences.com. Let's go to Sosa out in California. Sosa, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going, fellas?
What's up, man?
All right, so I got just one major point and then 2 smaller points, and then I'll take them off air. The first one, I was listening to the podcast two days ago, and you guys were talking about, like, if the best player, like the philosophy for John Harbaugh should be pick the best player, right?
Well, no, I think we said that's what we thought his philosophy would be.
It's a guess right now.
Correct.
we don't know.
Correct.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No. I think that's pretty much the sentiment I get as well. But my situation is like, what if we get to 5 and Love is the best player? Do you say, you know what, we got 2 running backs that are pretty good, forego choosing the best player? Or do we say, you know what, he's the best player and we'll take him? So that's the first one. The other 2 things, about Dart's accuracy down the field, I feel like people talk really bad about his accuracy down the field. And I know if you just look at the numbers, it may show some problems with that. But I feel like, because I was watching every game of the season, like, I feel like when he was throwing the ball downfield, guys were dropping it. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like that's not accounted enough for when we talk about his downfield accuracy. So that's the second point. And then the last point, the third point, I wanted to see what would y'all say the biggest issue for the team was last year. If you had to pick one major issue with the team,
Do I have to pick only
what would
one?
it be? My pick would be shedding tackles. Like, I feel like we sometimes are in a position to make a play, but the guys don't shed their tackles. And I feel like that was the biggest problem, in my opinion. So I look forward to hearing what you guys got to say. I appreciate y'all.
Make sure I have the 3 questions right, Paul, before we start asking them. So it was the biggest problem with the team, and what were the first 2?
You want to know about
if
Dart's?
Jeremiah Love is there.
Oh, Jeremiah Love and then Dart.
Yeah, you want to know about Dart's long ball.
Okay. Dart's long ball. Why don't we start with that? I would say he made some really nice deep ball passes. I think some of his best deep ball passes are those quick ones where he takes 3 steps and just throws the deep ball down the sideline. I think those are probably some of his best. Now, those aren't as far down the field as some of the deeper ones,
Right.
which I do think was inconsistent from game to game. And I saw that on the Ole Miss tape, too, to be honest with you. So I think
Fair.
there were some drops in there. No question about it when you look at overall completion percentage on those throws.
And I would say this, John, I don't think our guys did nearly enough with contested catches either.
I agree. And I don't think this is an arm strength or a talent question for Dart. Deep passing is also very fluid from year to year.
Mm-hmm.
Things can change really fast. Like
One year, Daniel Jones was great.
And then next year is terrible.
Right.
So I think that can change from year to year. I would not be... Would I like it to be more consistent? Yes. Do I think it's a problem that I stay up at night worrying about? No. But that's something I think it's worth monitoring going forward, is how I would phrase that. Jeremiah Love, look, I'm very much a best player available thing, but I do think need has to have some factor in there. Like if the best player is a quarterback, but if you have your franchise quarterback, you're not picking a quarterback.
No.
And other positions, in fact, almost every other position, you can have more than one of that position on the field at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
There are 2 tackles, there are 2 guards, there are multiple linebackers, multiple defensive linemen, multiple edge players, multiple corners, multiple safeties. Now, do you rotate running backs? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But are 2 on the field more than a handful of plays a game? Usually not. So I get where you're coming from, and I like you calling us on that because he's a player. And if it's the best player and he's the highest graded player.
Terrific player.
And he's probably going to be a top 3 or 4 player for me in this year's draft class, and that's fine. And again, we'll see. Maybe John Harbaugh thinks differently, and he knows a lot more about this than I do. I would not relitigate the whole pick a running back in the top 5 like we did with Saquon back in the day. I'm just not going there.
Well, first of all, I don't think he is Saquon.
No, I agree with that. I don't think he's at
Saquon
Saquon's
Barkley
level.
was a much higher level prospect for me.
I agree with that.
And I broke rules to say that I have to take Saquon. And I agreed with the Giants making that move, and I'm still on board with what they did. But he is not Saquon Barkley. So I'm sorry, I can't break my philosophies for Love. I did for Barkley. I wouldn't do it for Love.
You don't break any of your life philosophies for Love?
Good pun, John.
No problem. And then biggest problem, it was Valentine's Day over the weekend, so I thought it was appropriate.
That is true.
Biggest problem on the team last year. I like
rush
his
defense.
I do. Well, I think that goes to his point on shedding blocks, right? Guys being able to get off of blocks to make plays in the run game. I think that's a big part of it. I'm just, guys, there were way too many guys wide open in the secondary. You got to cover better. Too many big plays, too many guys open all over the place. Think about those big moments late in games where guys were in the vicinity with a chance to make plays in the ball. And everyone wanted to point a finger at Shane Bowen for the defense if he calls. But if the player is in the vicinity and he just doesn't pick the ball up and make a play in the ball, like the secondary has to cover better. They have to. And if that doesn't get better, I don't care what blitzes Denard Wilson runs and what creepers he uses and double mugs and simulated pressures. All that's great. If you're not covering, ain't going to matter. So for me, it's can you cover better down the field?
It's not acceptable that Paulson Adebo and Tay Banks were not your best cover guys. Banks was a number 1 pick. Adebo was a high-price free agent. They've got to produce to the level that they're expected to produce at. Cordell Flott was the Giants' best coverage guy last year.
Yeah.
And I am a big, huge Cordell Flott fan since he came out of LSU. You guys know that. You've listened to this program for a lot of years.
But he's a free agent.
But not only is he a free agent, but Cordell Flott, his toolbox, okay? I'm not talking about him as a player or his production. His toolbox is not as high level as Paulson Adebo or Tay Banks. He does not have the quality or the amount of tools that those other 2 guys have. But
I mean, all you got to do is stand the 3 guys next to each other and look at them, and that'll tell you what you need to know.
It's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Okay? But those 2 guys did not play nearly as well as Cordell Flott. Cordell Flott played well this past season. He did. He was good.
He was.
But the other 2 guys did not live up to the back of their football cards. So,
and by the way,
to John's point, yes.
The rule that I got confused with, you cannot extend a player on his rookie contract with fewer than 2 years remaining. But veterans
okay,
you can extend. Like you can't rookies coming off of his second year in the pros. You can't extend them.
Right, that I know.
That's where my head went. With
I
that.
just didn't know about the veteran rule, though.
You can extend them whenever you want.
There is no, yeah.
But again, I don't think you're doing it with 4 years left in the contract. So I'm not.
No, I doubt it.
We have seen that with some of the big money quarterbacks, though, in the effort to move money down the road. And I wasn't thinking. We've seen that with some of these guys. Where I think Mahomes already did it once, didn't he? Or maybe it wasn't Mahomes. One of these big money quarterbacks did it once already, where they pushed money further down the road.
Mahomes, I think, has got to be owed money the next 6 years, probably.
I think it's more than that. He's not like
might
a
be
10-year contract or
Yeah, it
something
might
crazy
be.
like that.
These contractual things, the details
It's all
inside the
accounting.
contracts. Yeah, that's why Donna Ponte is here. Okay, they don't consult us on these things. They got her now.
Yes, I hope to do a pod with her and just get into the contract minutia. That could be fun. All right, let's wrap things up with Rob in Connecticut. Rob, let's wrap things up on Big Blue Kickoff today. Great job on the calls today, guys. We appreciate it. Rob, what's up?
Hello,
Rob going once. Rob going twice.
Is he
Rob
gone?
sold. All right, Pearson, why don't you scream more? We'll try to squeeze him in, all right, real quick. In the meantime, let me just remind people that Giants TV is the Giants' official connected streaming app. Original video content, all of our shows, game highlights, on demand to Big Blue fans. It's free on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Google TV, Giants mobile app, all your smart TVs. Make sure you go check it out. And don't forget, the New Jersey Snow Bowl is... where is it? I'm looking for that one.
Here, I got it, John. Go ahead.
Here we go. Here we go. I got it.
At Rutgers.
Yep. Is it Rutgers HSI Stadium? And it's coming your way this spring. Did this thing get moved? Where is it? Oh, there it is. SHI Stadium in 2026. The annual flag football tournament will be on the field from March 6th through the 8th. The 6-on-6 tournament will feature competitive recreational and co-ed divisions, and all proceeds benefit thousands of Special Olympics New Jersey athletes across the Garden State. Register your team today at njsnowball.org. That's njsnowball.org.
Is it still a snowball if the snow melts by then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Still snowball. Well, I'm hoping the snow will be melted by March
I hope
6th.
so. It's starting to.
God
Did you
willing.
see it?
Yeah, well, it's like 36 degrees when I drove into work this
I
morning.
actually
which is
saw
nice.
some pieces of land underneath the ice.
Land. Have you walked outside yet?
Yes.
Oh, was that the first time this weekend you walked outside?
Yes.
Congratulations.
I know.
Welcome back.
I was very pleased.
Good. Happy to hear that. All right, let's go to Darian in Houston. A lot of new callers from different places today. I'm happy about that. Darian, what's up, pal?
Hey, how you guys doing?
We're
Hi.
good, man. What do you got?
So I was listening, and the topic of best player available versus need came up. And John, you mentioned, if a team has a franchise quarterback, they necessarily won't draft the best player available if it's a quarterback. So it made me think: do you guys think at any point in the future the league will ever get to a point of playing rotating quarterbacks or multiple quarterbacks? This probably won't be for maybe decades down the line. And I know, that the quarterback is the leader of the team and they need to get in the rhythm during the game and things like that. But do you think that could ever be a possibility of teams, playing rotating quarterbacks sometime down the line?
Darian, you know what? I think teams are starting to go in that direction. And then, unfortunately, did you see what happened to the Vikings this year when they decided to play that game? We don't want to pay Sam Darnold. Instead, we'll draft a quarterback in the first round and go to that player instead. Darian, how'd that work out for the Vikings this year?
Yeah, not too good.
Nope, not too good. And I appreciate the call. We got to run. We're about to the end of the show here. But excellent question. Great call. You want the quarterback making as least amount of money as possible so you can spend the money elsewhere. But if the quarterback's not any good, it doesn't matter.
No.
And did it sound great in your head? We don't have to pay Sam Darnold $30 million because we have J.J. McCarthy on a rookie contract. It might have sounded good in theory, but rolling the dice on the quarterback, it just cost the Vikings GM his job, in part. I know that's not the only reason, but I'm sure it was part of it, right?
I'm sure.
And it's just such a risky move. The risk-averse move is to just stick with the guy you have because you know what he is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's say the Cowboys decide, all right, we don't want to pay Dak Prescott like a top 3 or 4 quarterback because we think he's the 8th best quarterback, right? So we don't want to pay him $60 million. All right, so who you put in there? Joe Milton? You know, pay Malik Willis $20 million a year? You know what I mean? Like, what are your options? And might we get there at some point where quarterback salaries becoming so exorbitant that it is the right move? Maybe. Maybe. I don't think we're there now.
I was just going back into my memory banks, and I double-checked it. The last time that a team really succeeded with rotating quarterbacks was 1982 when the Dolphins went to the Super Bowl with what was called the Woodstock quarterback. Don Strock and David Woodley.
Well, again, I don't know if he
rotated quarterbacks.
I don't think he means playing multiple quarterbacks in the year. I think he just means never paying a quarterback. And always cycling somebody in afterwards.
I misunderstood.
That's what right, Pearson. I think that's what he meant, right? Like never paying a quarterback big money, but just continually drafting the next guy and trying to keep a quarterback on a low salary. That's how I understood it, at least.
Could have been either.
Okay, either way, it's not a good idea.
It's risky. And again, you saw what happened to the Vikings this year, and the guy they let go wins the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It becomes very, very risky.
Yeah. It's not cool. Not cool.
And by the way, you look at the Falcons.
Oh, man.
Not like, Kirk Cousins' injury ended up making some extenuating circumstances like that.
Yes.
But as Michael Penix showed, let's say Kirk Cousins was still peak Kirk Cousins, all right? And he never got hurt. He was peak Kirk Cousins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would Penix, has he been good enough
Absolutely
to replace peak Kirk Cousins?
Not even close.
Not even close.
Not even close.
So that's the risk. Great question, though. Darian, awesome question. That's the type of questions we want in the offseason. It's a great philosophical conversation to have. I just don't think the league's there yet. No. There's just too much risk. If you blow it and you go from like a 10-7 team to like a 4-13 team because the quarterback that you went to is not good enough,
that's the
fastest way to get fired on the planet.
It's like sitting on a hand grenade after you pulled the pin.
That's very graphic. Wow.
You've basically blown yourself up, haven't you?
Yes, that is what would happen if you sat on a hand grenade after pulling the pin. Thank you, Army Corps of Engineers over here. I appreciate that, Infantryman Dottino.
I'm being very blunt about it.
Would not be very pleasant.
No, not at all.
Paul, this was fun.
All right, John.
I think it's you and SciTac tomorrow, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I don't know. I know I'm here.
It's usually SciTac.
Okay.
Well, actually, I think SciTac might be off this week.
It could be you.
That could be me.
Okay.
Well, I'll be here. So if it's me, I'll pop on. Pearson, you going to bring it up and find out real quick? All right, Pearson's going to check. In the meantime, thanks for being with us, everybody. As I mentioned, our Combine shows will be next week, Tuesday to Friday. They'll be 12 to 1 instead of 12:30 to 1:30. So keep that in mind as we move forward here. And check it out. A lot of stuff happening. Getting ready for the Combine. Should be fun shows tomorrow. The rest of the week. What do you got?
You two again.
Me and Paul again tomorrow. All right. Do you have any ideas for the show?
At the moment, no.
All right, think about it.
We have time.
Pearson, you can think about it too. Our trusty producer. Think of something clever for tomorrow. I guess we could do like a real Combine preview if you wanted to, but we're getting a little early. It's a little early in the week for that.
Quarter-century draft thing if we want.
Oh, I need more time to prepare for that. I need more time to prepare. Paul's got those guys on a Rolodex, man.
I do.
I actually need to do some work to make sure I'm prepared for that. I don't have that quite as ready to go as Paul does. All right, for Paul Dottino, I'm John Schmeelk. That's Big Blue Kickoff Live presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. From the Hackensack Murray Held Podcast Studio, keep getting better. We'll see you next time, everybody.